It's time for Baby and Toddler Instructions with host Blythe Lipman. Blythe is a nationally renowned infant and toddler expert who has over 30 years' experience helping moms and dads regain their sanity, teaching them how to survive, and giving them the confidence they need to be the best parents ever. From sleeping to crying to potty training to choosing a preschool and so much more. If you're a parent, Baby and Toddler Instructions is the show you've been looking for. Now here's your host, Blythe Lipman.
Well, good morning, afternoon, evening, whatever time zone you may be in. Welcome to Baby and Toddler Instructions. Thanks so much for tuning in. I'm so excited you're here. Today's show is so important. My guest will be Nancy Dastrup from Arizona Childproofers. You know, Halloween's going to be here before we know it, and we're going to be talking, Nancy and I are going to be talking about safety. You know, what kind of costumes? Are you going to have a party? How to keep your kids safe? And what about if you're not taking your little ones or you have older children and you're driving around the neighborhood? You have to keep them safe. I mean, Halloween can be kind of scary because, you know, let's face it, it's dark and you have little ones and they try to run away. So anyway, Nancy will be with us in just a few minutes. And don't forget, it's Breast Cancer Awareness Month, so do those checks. It's so important. And Fire Prevention Week is October 5th through 11th. Today is the 8th, and Fire Prevention Day is tomorrow, October 9th. So if you have little ones, check out your local fire departments, libraries, your newspapers. You know, lots of times they have wonderful events going on, and I love when I see the little ones go on the fire trucks and the big firemen put their hats on the kids. It's so much fun, but safety is so important. Later on, at another time in the show, I am going to have a fireman on, and we're going to talk about keeping your house safe, because I always remember stop, drop, and roll. And somebody told me yesterday that you're also supposed to add cover your face. So I want to find out what's new. Anyway, that's not what's happening today. But first, you know me, have to give the weather report. I'm in Arizona, and we are actually getting some rain. We've had more rain than we've ever had in a long, long time. And it's okay. You know what? I love the sunshine. We need the rain. We need the water. But I like the sunshine, so hopefully it'll just rain a little today and be finished, because I put the top down in my car, and boy, it's so nice this time of year. We wait for this. And I hope nobody gets snow, so wishing you all really good weather this fall. We were speaking of safety. There was one recall this week. Toys R Us recalled children's sandals due to a choking hazard. It said that they're called koala children's sandals. They have butterfly wings that can rip and detach, posing a choking hazard to a young children. You know how everything goes in the mouth. So if you have these butterfly sandals, take them away. You know what? Take them back to the store. If you go to my websites, mybestparentingadvice.com or babyinstructions.com, go to my recall page. I have all the up-to-date recalls. And as I say every week, you know what? Don't try to finagle and fix things yourself. Also, if you get hand-me-downs, you know, somebody's crib, somebody's stroller, I think it's great to share. Everything is so darn expensive with baby equipment nowadays. But if you get a hand-me-down, go to my list or go to the cpsc.gov site, and you can see all the recalls, because you do not want to use something that's been recalled. It's recalled for a reason. It's just not safe. So, but we only had one this week, so that is a very good thing. So let's see what else I have. Oh, by the way, if you're listening live now, I know you're not listening to a podcast, and you have any questions or comments, or you just want to say hi, you know how I love callers. You can call us at 877-864-4869, or you can go to the chat line, go to TogiNet, TOGINET.com, and it says chat, and sign in and type your question. But don't be chicken. I love to talk to people online. Also, if you ever want to contact me, you can go to either one of my websites, babyinstructions.com, mybestparentingadvice.com, and it says contact me if you want to be a guest on the show, or you have an idea you would like me to get a particular guest. Always contact me, and don't forget to look at all the other great shows on toginet.com. Anyway, moving on, as we talk about technology and children a lot on my show, and I've had many great professionals on here to talk about technology. Carol McManus, the LinkedIn lady, was on a few weeks ago. She was great. Anyway, I wanted to share this because it blew me away. It was in USA Today. It's going by the book. This is the percentage of American ages 16 plus who have used a library card. 61% a library in the past year. Only 50% ages 30 plus. I couldn't believe this. 47% of ages 30 plus have actually gone to a library. And you can see the trend because 28% of people ages 30 plus have visited a library website, and 36% have visited the library website. But it's amazing because I talked a number of shows back that there's actually a library that does not have any books. It has iPads, and it has all the technology, and you can actually check out the iPad. And they said Of course, I thought, I bet they never get them back, but they said they did. So, technology is changing the way we do things. So I was kind of blown away by that. I like the library. And I don't even think there's the Dewey Decimal System anymore. Or you may not even know what that is, but okay, I'm showing my age. So what do you think about this? Did you hear about the first baby born from a transplanted womb? Baby Vincent, the first child to be born from a transplanted womb. He's a Swedish baby. He was delivered by cesarean section to a 36-year-old woman who had the uterus of a 61-year-old family friend. It said that the technique was pioneered at the University of, I guess it's Gothenburg, that offers hope to women who are born without a womb or they lose theirs due to cancer. And it says that the research team has transplanted wombs, mostly donated by the recipients' mothers, into 9 women over the past 2 years. Only 2 had to be removed because of complications, and 2 more women with the transplanted wombs are pregnant and expected to deliver before the end of the year. This little baby Vincent was delivered early, 32nd week, which is usually it's 37 to 42 weeks. But the mother had preeclampsia, which is a condition that's marked by high blood pressure. Anyway, they delivered him early. He weighed 3.9 pounds, and he's doing great. But she was on all kinds of anti-rejection drugs that were, I guess not making her feel good. But it gives us scientific evidence that the concept of uterus transplantation can be used to treat the uterine factor infertility, which remains untreatable. I don't know what I think about this. I mean, I love my children. I don't know what I'd do if I couldn't have children. But do we transplant uteruses? It must be so tough on the body, but I'm not a doctor. Anyway, congratulations to all those women, to the woman that just had the baby, and to the other 2, hopefully will have healthy babies. So just thought I would share that. And also, since my guest and I are going to be talking about Halloween safety, I thought I would share a few tips from an article I wrote called Trick or Treating with Babies or Toddlers. You decide. It's really cute. They have the most adorable costumes for little babies. And I have to say, it's for the pictures, it's for the parents and the grandparents, and I think it's great. But if you're going to take your little baby trick-or-treating, here's a couple tips I wanted to share. Choose a costume that's comfortable. Otherwise, they're just going to be crying. And don't cover a baby's eyes. That's very scary. Also, if you're going to go around the neighborhood and your baby is sitting up, put her in a stroller or a wagon, trying to carry the baby and the bag with the candy in it, which of course is for you. It just points to a backache. Also, if you're going to take pictures, take them before you go trick-or-treating, and don't take your little baby out when it's time to go to sleep. That's a recipe for tears and disaster. If you're going to take your toddler trick-or-treating, pick a goodie bag that's not too heavy. My favorite is the backpack because it keeps keeps all the hands free. You can hold your little one's hands. You can also carry a flashlight. Also, if you are going to be going out when it's dark, take 2 flashlights. Inevitably, one of them doesn't work, and it's dark, and you can't see. Also, try to discourage your little ones from carrying all the props, the swords, the purses, because I'll tell you what, you're going to end up carrying them. So just a couple tips from my article, Trick-or-Treating with Babies and Toddlers. You decide if you want to see the entire article, which has lots and lots of tips. Go to mybestparentingadvice.com. On the right-hand side, it's experts. Look at my name, Blythe Lippman, and go down the blog post at the bottom of the page and pick that article, Trick-or-Treating with Your Infants and Toddlers. So we're going to have a break. very shortly, but I want to tell you about my wonderful guest. Nancy Dastrup is the owner of Arizona Childproofers. She has 5 grown children and going on 9 grandchildren, 7 boys, 2 girls, all 5 and under except for 1. There's a new little baby. Nancy's been married for almost 42 years, and she's worked with children and parents for over 30 years. She taught parenting and teacher workshops on how to use music in parenting and in the classroom. She directed a school-age performing group that performed musical productions on personal and drug safety, patriotism plus health and nutrition. Wow, this is great. And 5 years ago, Nancy had the opportunity to go into business with her son, Dustin Dastrup, the only certified professional childproofer in Arizona. And they've been childproofing for almost 10 years, installing pool fences for over 12. It was a dream come true. Nancy has a passion for working with families who want to create a safer environment in their homes because it's so much fun and rewarding to her to help keep babies and toddlers and families safe so they can enjoy the dance, the parenthood, and not have to do the dance about don't touch, no, and keeping their little ones out of dangerous situations. Arizona Childproofers provides in-home safety assessments, pool fencing, car seat. They're certified car seat technicians, educational classes in the home, safety pool, water, holiday safety, everything. And 2 things. I understand that Nancy's husband is an actor. And I also have to tell you, I'm going to ask her about a new, wonderful, exciting project that Arizona Childproofers is working on so that everybody can contact them, whether you live in Arizona or you live anyplace else in the United States, maybe even in the country. So, Nancy, we're going to have a commercial in just about 2 minutes, but I wanted to welcome you to the show. Thanks so much for being with us this morning.
You are very welcome.
Actually, we have about 30 seconds, so we're not going to get into any of the tips and all your expertise. But, you know, I do want to say one other thing. I am in a wonderful networking group with Nancy called TING. It's Toddler Infant Networking Group. And we have lots of great women in our group, entrepreneurs, all kinds of businesses. And maybe we can talk a little bit about that, too.
Okay.
Because if you live in Arizona, we have a once-a-month meeting. And if you have a business that's applicable, you may want to find out more information. So we will be right back.
We'll be right back with more Help My Baby Came Without Instructions. It's Baby and Toddler Instructions with Blythe Lipman on TogiNet. We'll be right back right after these. This is God in Country, the collision of faith and politics, hosted by nationally known speaker, Reverend Dr. Sean Michael Greener. Not your typical Rev. Dr. Sean is a proud military veteran, former law enforcement officer, and founder of the internationally regarded Executive Protection Team. Dr. Sean holds a bachelor's degree in biblical counseling and master's and doctorate degrees in theology, and is currently pursuing a doctorate in ministry with a Hebrew worldview focus. Through his counseling, elite life coaching, and national speaking, this ninja pastor tells it like it is. This series is biblically and politically engaged with the pedal to the metal. Join host and author of the acclaimed yet controversial book, Excellence Killed the Church, How Mediocrity is Destroying America, Dr. Sean Michael Greener, every Monday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on this radio network. In today's business world, a helping hand or idea that doesn't come with an invoice is a treasured find. And if that happens to you, then you need to pay it forward to keep other entrepreneurs from making mistakes or getting a raw deal. It's called Paying It Forward with Josephine Girassi, Wednesday mornings at 10, 9 a.m. Central. Josephine is going to have the guests describe their accomplishments, the lessons they've learned, both good and bad, and then sharing those pieces of knowledge as we create a movement of paying it forward. For more information about Josephine, her business, and background, you can go to mymomknowsbest.com. Josephine Girassi has always been a problem solver. She saw this need and has turned it into a movement. It's Paying It Forward, with tips, tools, and advice and hard lessons learned.
These pieces of knowledge can make a huge difference for you, your business, and others. So join us for Paying It Forward with Josephine Girassi, Wednesday mornings at 10 a.m., 9 a.m. Central on TogiNet.com.
Everybody.
Welcome back to Baby and Toddler Instructions with Blythe Lipman on TogiNet, the hour for all moms with little ones to come for great advice, encouragement, and great ideas for all new parents. Now, back to the show with Blythe Lipman.
Well, welcome back to Baby and Toddler Instructions. I'm so happy you could tune in. My guest this morning is Nancy Dastrup from Arizona Childproofers, and we have so much to talk about because Halloween will be here in just a few weeks, and you want to take your little ones trick-or-treating, and you have to keep them safe. And while I did share a few of the tips from the article that I had written, Nancy has so much more. So, Nancy, before we get into that, tell me a little bit. I want to know something. Is your husband an actor?
Well, no, he's actually an engineer. He's an engineer with a very creative side on him, and he has been, actually, when I met him, he was in a community play. He was Charlie Brown in You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown, and throughout the years, he's done community plays on and off, and there is an amazing little theater here called the Front Row Theater that is directed by Don Bluth, and Don Bluth has been around. He's an animator. He was an animator with Disney, and he did The Secret of NIMH, so many people know that. He did The First American Tale, Land Before Time. So it's a really neat thing to be under his direction in the play. So, yeah, it's just a little playhouse here in Scottsdale called the Front Row Theater, and he's playing just two small parts in Arsenic and Old Lace. It's really fun. It's a great play. So if anybody, look it up. It's a great play to go to.
Well, you know me. My son's an actor, so I always like to know about anybody in acting because Andrew's going to be in the Christmas Carol again in Gilbert. At Hale, yes, and he's been in the Christmas Carol the last 3 years, and I'll tell you what, it's kind of scary, but I love watching it. So
I'll be there. I'll see him. Yeah, we love theater.
Oh, so do we. But anyway, you know what? It's a great thing, too, if your little ones have an interest. Great extracurricular activity. Mm-hmm, a lot of places here, the kids can take the classes. But let's get on to Halloween for a minute. All right. Costume safety. I mean, the baby costumes are just so precious and adorable. And, when you see them in the costume, they're so cute. And, of course, we know it's for the pictures, it's for the grandparents, it's for all of us. You better not give them Snickers. It's for us to get the candy.
Yeah.
What do you say about, to keep our little ones safe? What do you think about putting costumes on the little 2-month-olds, 6-month-olds?
Well, they're cute, and there's some that are out there that are just simple. So the main thing is to make it comfortable, like you were saying, for the little ones. So there's some that are like sleepers and things that for those that are that small that are really good. The main thing is to be sure that they are made out of a fire retardant fabric. That's a really important thing, and if you make them yourself, make sure that you find fabrics that are low burning fabrics. Burns are one of the top things during Halloween that children get injured with. Burns and falls are a big one. But when they're really little and you're toting them around, just make sure they're comfortable, that they don't get too hot or too cold, that their face is completely clear, that the costume won't get over their nose or their face, so that they don't suffocate in their costume. You want their eyes clear so that they can see, so no mask on little babies. Actually, masks should never be worn, but that's we'll probably talk about that a little bit later. But, just keeping them comfortable. And then when they start toddling around, are you ready to go there?
I'm ready.
Okay, so if they're toddling around, they should not be long. They should be short enough that they are not going to have an opportunity to trip on their costume. Is so important. Tripping is it probably is the highest injury factor in children during Halloween is tripping on their costumes. So make sure that they're short enough. They can be a little bit slutty. The princess dresses should be above the ground so they're not tripping on them. The shoes should be comfortable when they're walking around. They should be wearing the glow-in-the-dark necklaces and things like that so they can be easily seen. Maybe even putting strips of reflective tape on their costume. The whole thing is make them cute, but they still need to be safe out there, because when we're out on the street, children are 2 to 3 times more likely to be fatally injured on Halloween night than any other time by a car.
It's so scary because, first of all, they're little. You can't see them. And I have to tell parents, they have to hold your hand. When they are not going up to the door, parents will let their kids go up to a neighbor's door, and you won't exactly go up with them, but you'll be behind. That has to be the rule. They have to hold your hand because, toddlers, they like to run away. They see something, and they want to take off, but they don't realize that there's the street.
Oh, absolutely. My husband and I, what we do, we don't even have them come up to the door. We set up a little display thing out in chairs and a table with a display and our candy, and we sit in our driveway, and they just all come up and run up to our driveway, so they didn't even have to go up to the door. It's kind of fun. And
you dress up?
Oh yeah, we do. But we with babies, a child under the age of 10 is not old enough to go out trick-or-treating on their own. There should always be an adult with children. I see the trend. We talk about this every Halloween as we watch families. We see the trend where there's just families are just going out together, and there'll be several families gather together, and they'll walk, and they let the kids kind of run around in the neighborhood. And I think that one of the main things because it's just not the way it was when we were kids. When I was a kid, or when my children were children, my oldest is 37. It's a whole different trick or treating thing. The neighborhoods are different. They're bigger. People don't know the people in their neighborhoods as well as they did back in the day. There's people out there wanting to harm people and harm children for some weird, strange way that they think that's fun. And so we have to be just extra vigilant. So when we take a baby out trick-or-treating, it's to show off our baby and to get candy.
Exactly.
The adults are going back in their childhood. It's a fun way to get some free candy and for them.
And there's nothing wrong with it. You know what? It's
absolutely
fun.
Not. Absolutely not. And everybody loves the babies, and everybody oohs and ahs, and that's what the parents want, and they get their prize is a little bit of candy. So it's not a big deal at all. And it's, in fact, I just read an article about that saying it's not against the law. It's okay, and hey, it's free candy. So.
Hey, but let's talk about this for a second. What about the dogs? You know how many people dress up their dogs? I have no room to talk. I do videos every week, and everybody waits to see what funny thing I'm going to put on the dogs, and I just have to say my dogs are fine. I would never do anything if they didn't like it and get lots of treats. But anyway, what do you I see people taking their dressed-up dogs with their kids, with their wagons, with their bags, and it's like, wait a minute, does the dog really like this? And chocolate, you can't give dogs chocolate. It's poisonous.
You don't want to give animals treats like that. The human treats are not for pets. They don't react well with pets, but really there's a lot of things with pets. Because the candy wrappers, if they eat the candy wrappers, they're not biodegradable. So they hopefully they're going to make it through. But they can be hazardous to a pet. So basically, if you have pets, and then there's a lot of children. If you take your pets out, there's a lot of children who are afraid of pets, afraid of dogs, and so it's almost not fair to those other children that are going out there to. Especially the young ones who may have a fear for the pets. So it's kind of a balance in there. You have to really but just don't give them the treats. And if they start to act up, they need to go home, as you would with a child. Make sure that when you go out with your child, you're not going to go out at bedtime. You're not going to go out if they're not full. Feed them first. Feed yourself first, and that way you won't be as tempted to pull in and get the candy before you get home, because all candy should be looked at. You should only eat candy that is in professionally wrapped wrappers. Homemade candy should be thrown away because you just don't know, unless it's from somebody you know really well.
It's so different. It is so different, as you said, because, even when my kids went trick-or-treating, they knew everybody. And my words of caution were, do not go to any houses that don't have lights on.
Exactly.
And this is when they're 12, 13, 14.
Exactly.
Don't go when you don't know.
Right.
And, back to the dog thing, too. A lot of dogs, little kids are fast. They move their arms fast. They're just quick, and it scares the dog, so it's not safe for anybody.
Right. Well, even when even when you're the adult opening up the door to the house, the dog should be put away so that the pets don't get scared. They don't have a tendency to run out. They're not barking at the children. So it makes it really, the dogs can get anxious, and there's a lot of anxiety in there. And so all the things that I've read, all the things that when I've talked to pet places, they just say, put them in a separate room during that time because the costumes can frighten some of the pets. They might bump into something. We shouldn't have candles out in our pumpkins. We should get those little light things to light them up, because you don't want a child to bump into a jack-o'-lantern that has a candle in it and a fire start or get burned or something like that. So there's a lot of alternatives out there, but people do that. And if a pet, they can ingest the candles, they can start fires. There's just a lot of different things. It's something new and stuff, and it's really hard. Hard to know how they're going to react on this one day.
It was ingenious to create those little lights that you turn on, because you know what? We like to decorate. I have never seen decorating in Arizona for Halloween is, to me, the first year I moved here, it's like Christmas. It's great. I love to see how people decorate, and I love to see how everybody dresses up. It's so much fun. But we are going to break for another commercial in just a few seconds. When we come back, we are going to talk some more about safety with your little ones during Halloween. We can talk about some more tips, and I want to talk about the shoes, because those little princess costumes and the little girls want high heels, and I want to talk about that when we come back. So hang in there. We will be right back. Here comes the music.
We'll be right back with more help. For help, my baby came without instructions. It's Baby and Toddler Instructions with Blythe Lipman on TogiNet. We'll be right back right after these.
Baby love, my baby love, I need you, oh, I need you.
Join us every Monday at 10 a.m. Central for the Johnny Rowland News, Guns, and Motorsports radio show, with commentary about current events, guns, shooting, and firearms issues, automotive and motorsports features, and special music presentations. Johnny is recognized as an international firearms authority and ballistic engineer, as well as an accomplished and widely recognized automotive designer and longtime TV and radio host. This program draws on Johnny's experience in shooting, motorsports, and as a professional entertainer-musician. Don't miss Johnny Rowland News, Guns, and Motorsports. Infotainment at its best. Trust us on this one. It's a fun show. Every Monday morning at 10 a.m. Central, right here on the TogiNet Radio Network.
Shh. Listen, something is brewing. The beautiful business evolution is coming. The way we do business is about to change. For the better. Forever. This is real business at its very best. On Beautiful Business Radio, you will learn what it means to truly prosper, how to nourish yourself and your business, how to earn what you deserve and make a difference in the world. The tide is rising, the change is here. Discover a new way to live, love, and partner with yourself and your business on Philippa Rowlands Presents Beautiful Business Radio, where you matter and your business thrives, every Tuesday at 3 p.m. Central Standard Time, only here on the Woohoo Radio Network.
Welcome back to Baby and Toddler Instructions with Blythe Lipman on TogiNet, the hour for all moms with little ones to come for great advice, encouragement, and great ideas for all new parents. Now, back to the show with Blythe Lipman.
Well, welcome back to Baby and Toddler Instructions. I am here with my wonderful guest, Nancy Dastrup from Arizona Childproofers. And we're talking all about safety and Halloween. And if you're listening live and you have a question for Nancy about childproofing or anything else, or you just want to say good morning, call us at 877-864-4869, or you can go to the chat line on toginet.com. It's at the top of the page. Sign in and type your question. So, Nancy, before the break, we were talking a little bit about, I was talking about the shoes. And you know what? The costumes used to come with these high heels, the little girl princess costumes. I don't know if they still do, but I think you'll agree, tennis shoes, not sandals, not flip-flops.
Yeah. Tennis shoes are the best for walking around the neighborhood. The child isn't going to slip. They're not going to, like the little heels. I remember as a little girl wanting to wear those heels all the time. They're great for around the house. They're great when you're playing with your little friends. But walking around the neighborhood, again, that's just asking for a fall and some sort of injury and tripping and falling in those little heels. And sandals, again, are not generally, and flip-flops are not generally the right kind of shoes to be going around in the neighborhood when you're running around, and you're going to be, the kids are just so excited during that time. They're going to have this sugar high, and which they shouldn't have, but they will be eating the candy out of their bag. But parents, please just start with a rule now that we don't eat the candy until we get home and we look at it and we have to check it out first. And if you start it young, they'll just know. They'll just know, and then they have to wait. Then you can check it and make sure that there's nothing suspicious, and then you can let them have, then you can do your personal rule. A lot of people will take it and just say, okay, we have the candy for a week, and then they dump it after a week. The dentists say, eat it all at once, then get rid of it.
You know what? And I have to add something to that. If you're going to make that rule, which is perfect, don't sneak chocolate. Your child will smell that chocolate breath from a mile away.
Exactly.
So you have to keep the same rule for everybody.
That's
also
true. It's healthier.
Let's talk a little bit about the props. I mean, a lot of these costumes come with swords. They come with little purses. So other things you have to carry. I say leave them home because you're going to end up carrying them unless you're taking your children in a wagon and you have a place to put them down. Also, Nancy, the swords scare me. When I see these long swords that are bigger than the little toddlers. Right.
Well, they should be short. So if you're going to have a sword or something like that, they should be short. They should be really flexible. They should be light. Because, again, if they're running and they trip and they fall, you don't want them to get hurt with them. So make a sword out of cardboard. And so if they do fall, if it's essential to the character, just make something out of styrofoam or make something out of cardboard, something to replace that sword or thing that came with it. So if they do fall, they won't get hurt, or if they get mad at somebody and try to bonk them, it's not going to cause a lot of damage. So that's kind of the best thing. I posted on my on Thursday on Facebook on my personal Facebook page a picture of me as Little Red Riding Hood, and when I was a little girl, and I just made me remember that my mom made all of my costumes, and almost always the costumes were made. Not always, but parents did a lot more creative making them and not going out and buying the costumes. And I looked at that. Oh, it was short. I wouldn't have tripped on it. There was no mask, of course, Little Red Riding Hood, but it would just kind of fit with all the things that we should do. And though I was wearing my Sunday shoes. not tennis shoes.
Well, I'd have to match Red Riding Hood because, the costumes nowadays are so expensive. I mean, some of the costumes are in the start at $20, and if you have 3 children.
Oh, yeah. Well, they're $35 in a lot of places I've seen, But they're, the thing is, if you're going to get a costume, I think the children do a lot of dress-up nowadays, too. At least my grandchildren, they love to dress up. So if you're going to get a costume, get one. If you're going to pay that kind of money, make sure that it's fire retardant. Make sure that it's a good quality so that your child can wear it for the next year or so, while they're playing make-believe. And then you'll get more bang for your buck out of it. Make sure it doesn't have any small choking hazards on it for children that are under the age of 3, or if you have children in your home that are under the age of 3. And
That's a really good tip, because I'll tell you what, I want to add to that too, which is not about Halloween. If you have things that you don't want to wear anymore, T-shirts, not pants, of course, T-shirts, or you have, if you have an older toddler and you have a bracelet that has elastic and you don't wear it a lot, don't get rid of any of that. Kids love to dress up, as Nancy says, and they love to dress up in their mom's things and their, and their dads, if they're boys, and their grandmas,
grandpas,
grandpas.
Yeah, they do. They do, and that's a great alternative to the TV, where you can just say, okay, TV's off. Here's the costume box. Make a costume, put on a play, have them use their imaginations with things that you have. But just remember, when you have that costume box and you have several different age groups in your home, and you have some that are under the age of 3, that there should be no choking hazards in there. It gets really tricky as children grow up and they're able to do things, but you still have these little ones coming up behind them that are still throwing things in their mouth, and choking hazards are still an issue. So there's some tricky things. That's one of the challenges we have as childproofers when we go into a home. You have children that you want to be able to get into, go into the bathroom, and you have other children you don't want to go into the bathroom. How do you solve that problem? Which we can. And so, and that's the same thing when you have toys and all these different things. How do you keep the choking hazards away from the 3-year-olds when you want the 7-year-olds to play with Legos and the 3-year-olds to play with Duplos, or the 2-year-olds play with Duplos? It gets tricky as a parent sometimes.
It does get tricky, and if you live in Arizona, you should call Nancy. You should call Arizona Childproofers, because they can solve all of this. And plus, Nancy, with all your children and grandchildren, you've been through all of it and still doing it. But
I am living it. It's not like I've raised all my kids. My grandchildren all live local except for one, and they're here a lot. And so I can go in with current experience, and talk to young parents.
Oh, it's great to have the research and development department right there.
Exactly.
Anytime you want it. Well, let's talk a little bit about the tips for drivers during Halloween. That's an important one.
It is huge. That alcohol on Halloween can sometimes, in some years, surpasses alcohol on New Year's Eve. Alcohol-related accidents. Huh. Yes. So there's a lot of Halloween parties going on. There's a lot of drinking during those Halloween parties. So just make sure there's a designated driver. Make sure that as you're driving and you don't have alcohol in your system, that you drive slower on the streets. Speed limit in a neighborhood is 25 miles an hour. Go less. You don't know where the trick-or-treaters are going to be out at that time. Just be hyper vigilant. Don't even go out if you don't have to, just during the trick-or-treating time, so that there's just no, have less cars on the road. And, a lot of people are going and having parties rather than having the children go out into the neighborhood. And we've noticed that in our neighborhood. It gets less and less every year. So, find a trunk or treat activity, or some places to have harvest festivals and Halloween festivals at their churches or schools. And sometimes that's almost a better place and a safer place to go, because you're not having to worry about the cars driving around. You're not having to worry about, most people know the people that are in those groups that have those. So look for those kind of things. They're really good, a good alternative.
And trick-or-treating time is not that many hours. I mean,
No.
it's usually 2 or 3 hours. The problem comes that I've seen in the past is that you have the older kids out there.
Mm-hmm.
You have the teenagers that are running around crazy, after the little ones have gone in, because, your little ones don't last that long. If trick-or-treating is from 6 to 8 or 5:30 to 7, they may last an hour, and mom and dad may last even less. Depending on how you're taking them. And you don't have to hit every single house. But I noticed, sometimes when I haven't been home for Halloween, I would put candy out and I'd put it out in a dish, thinking I'm going to give it to the trick-or-treaters. And one year, I had an older kid came up and he dumped the whole thing in his bag. And I caught him. And I opened the door, and I'll tell you what, I think the expression on his face was not happy, and he put some of it back. Like, you have to share. You have to share. But these are the kids that are running around, so if you're in the car, they don't look, and they're with their friends. It's the older ones, and I don't know. Maybe, I don't know what the age cutoff is for trick-or-treating.
I'm not sure there is. The teens, some years there's a lot of teens that come, and other years there's not so many. They come out in groups, and they're silly, and I think if we, as the owners that open the door, and just play with them, they're teenagers are going from this, I was a kid the other day and I'm going to be an adult pretty soon, and they don't really know where they're fitting yet. And so just play with them. We usually ask them silly questions and make them answer before we throw them the candy. We'll throw them in their bags. We just kind of play with them to make it fun for them. And because we remember when we were a kid. And we remember when somebody said, you can't go trick-or-treating anymore. And it's like, why? I could go last year. So it's a fun time. It's not basically just for kids. But the teenagers need to have the respect. We need to have the respect for each other, and I think it'll make it much more fun for everybody involved. I would not leave candy out.
You said that. There isn't an age. I remember one year we went to a restaurant, and I dressed up, and all my friends dressed up, and in the middle of the meal, we had ordered our dinner. Mm-hmm. One of my friends and I went in the bathroom and switched costumes and came out and sat in the same seat. And the poor wait staff they couldn't figure out who was where and what we were doing. But I have to say, it was fun. You know what? Halloween's about fun. If you like it and you want to celebrate, you can make it fun. You can make it safe. And I don't think there's an age either. Yeah. Well, when we come back from our commercial break, we're going to talk to Nancy about a new exciting project she has coming up and more about childproofing. So we will be right back.
Thank you.
We'll be right back with more Help My Baby Came Without Instructions. It's Baby and Toddler Instructions with Blythe Lipman on TogiNet. We'll be right back right after these.
Do you want to get a contact high? Tune in for fun, inspiration, and motivation every Friday at noon Eastern Standard Time. Learn how to maximize your mojo and just say no to the status quo. Get inspired and motivated by a fun-loving coach who knows what it's like to get through this thing called life. With your High on Life coach, Audra Irwin, each Friday at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time and 12 noon Eastern.
Join us for Healing with the Marika Method. This is an amazingly informative show to help heal people as well as their horses, dogs, and cats. This show inspires and empowers people to take charge of their own health and their animals' health using the power of diet, nutrition, natural medicines, and lifestyle to heal a variety of health problems. Learn how food impacts all physical and emotional health conditions and how diet and natural medicines are used to heal the body, mind, and spirit. Marika is a health and nutrition specialist, homeopathic practitioner, a gifted medical intuitive and healer, and an author and educator with over 2 decades of experience in clinical practice for people and their pets. Join our host, Marika Vandewater, every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time, right here on the Rockstar Radio Network.
Welcome back to Baby and Toddler Instructions with Blythe Lipman on TogiNet, the hour for all moms with little ones to come for great advice, encouragement, and great ideas for all new parents. Now, back to the show with Blythe Lipman.
Hey, we're back.
Okay.
Well, welcome back to Baby and Toddler Instructions. I cannot believe we are up to the last part of the show, and there's so much to talk about. So, Nancy, we were talking during the break about two things we don't want to miss saying. We're talking about running and also about your yard during Halloween.
Exactly. There should always be a rule before you let your children go out, and even if you're with your children, so when you're with those young toddlers and young children, before you go out, just remind them of the rules. Just double-check everything, make sure everything's good with their costumes, make sure that they know the rules, no running, no eating the candy, and all the rules that you have for them before you go out. So they have to be reminded. We sometimes have to remind ourselves. And then if you're decorating your yard, make it safe. Again, don't use candles. If there's things in your yard, make sure it's something that a child will not trip on. If you need to block your yard off, that is sometimes a good way to put like some sort of a gate or barrier so that they can look over at your decorations, but they're not exactly looking can't get into them and trip or fall. So that's kind of.
I want to add one other thing that just occurred to me too. A lot of places have haunted houses.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure you don't take your children unless it's age appropriate and it's for young kids because they're really scary, and you do not want to put that kind of fear into your little one. Yes,
and there was one more thing too: masks. Masks hinder sight. And many of the holes for the eyes are very small. So if you feel like you have to have a mask on your child, make sure that you cut those eyes open even wider so that they can have a peripheral vision, because most of them cut off the peripheral vision. And then again, we're working our way up to be able to stumble and fall. And a lot of them have a restriction on airflow. So make sure there's a hole to be able to breathe.
Now, use some makeup. It's safer. It's easier. Put makeup on your child on Halloween and make them up that way. Also, with the costume, make sure you pick a bathroom-friendly costume if you have a toddler that is potty-trained, and make sure they go before you leave. I'll tell you what, there's nothing worse than having to run back home, take off 3 kinds of things on the costume. They won't go. They're crying. Bathroom-friendly costumes.
And make sure they go before they leave the house.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Nancy, you have a great new project that's going to be coming up. I want you to tell my listeners about it.
I do. We're so excited. We were trying to figure out how we could help families in other states, because certified professional childproofers are all over the United States, but they're not in every state, and sometimes they're not close by. Like we're 2 hours from Tucson, and we're 2 hours from Flagstaff, and it's long distance to go to Prescott. So we've decided that we're going to do a virtual in-home evaluation. We can do this through Skype, FaceTime, anything like that, where we will walk through your house with you as you are showing us with your phone or your iPad, and we will do just a full, thorough in-home evaluation, give you all the tips that we give to somebody when we're walking in their home through the things that we see, and we will then write up a full evaluation or a full write-up on the things that need to be done and what it would cost for you to get those items, and then you can choose whatever you want. But it's a great way. There'll be a fee for that, but between now and the first of the year, as we are, there'll be some kinks, I'm sure, with that, because it's not something we've done, yet as a regular thing. So we want to offer to all your listeners a free in-home evaluation virtually through the end of the year. So if they call us at 480-634-7366, and tell us that you heard us on Baby Instructions or on the TogiNet radio show, or just let us know it was Blythe's show, you will get that for free. And that it'll be kind of a win-win for both of us.
And when does that end? When does that?
That will end at the end of the year, and then we will have all the kinks out, and we will have a fee, and it'll probably just be $45. It'll take about an hour to an hour and a half to go through an on-site in-home presentation. I'm going to guess it's going to probably take about that long to do a virtual one also. And so again,
is the number 480-634-7366?
Yes, 7366.
Okay, well, I'm going to post that too because that's a really generous offer, and I am so excited because I have to tell you, every time I FaceTime with somebody, I do walk around with my iPad and I go, here are my dogs and here is my yard and whatever I'm talking about. You know what, technology is amazing when we don't live near somebody or we need to have a business help us.
Yeah. And it's amazing. I was talking to a childproofer who's been doing this for childproofing for 30 years. He's just kind of one of the gurus of childproofing. And he was telling me, if you have the right products, that's in your hand, and using the right products and have somebody that can kind of help you with that, it's so much easier than if you have the wrong products. And so as we go and do these, we'll be able to tell you which products are right. There's a lot of not so good childproofing products that are out there on the market. And so when you talk to a professional childproofer, they know, and that's somebody who's certified through the International Association of Child Safety. They know the products that are good, that aren't going to fail on you, that are going to last the longest, that your child will have a harder time breaking and getting through.
Okay.
And so you want to have the right products. You don't want to waste your money on stuff that has a very high failure rate, and that might be more difficult to install.
You know what? And it's so worth it because I know so many times I've heard parents say, oh, you know what? My baby's starting to cry. I have to go out and get some of those things for the cabinets. Like it's not a big deal. And there's so many to choose from. And some of them break and they pinch fingers. And you need to do Arizona Childproofers to find out the right ones because they have so many great products.
Right.
You know, and I have working in preschools and setting up the rooms. Cabinets for me are just really a sore point because it's so hard. You have the kids' things in the cabinets, and I always want to make sure that we have the right safety things on the cabinet so that you can get into them quick enough, but the kids can't get into them.
Yeah. We do,
that's
do those
just
a lot.
one thing.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Well, my tip for today, I had somebody call us and wants us to do an eval in their home and check the things that they have. And it's just, we're not sure about our gates on our stairs. We have a pressure gate at the top of the stairs, and I'm right then and there.
No.
Never, ever put a pressure gate. I don't care what it says on the box. Never put a pressure gate at the top of the stairs. So if you want to talk to us about why, give us a call.
You know what? That's a good tip. I mean, even for your dogs.
Oh, yeah, for the dogs, it's fine. Well, really there should never be a pressure gate at the top of the stairs because if you bump into it and it loses its pressure, you will fall and you will go down that stairs like on a sled. So even with a pet, I would not use a pressure gate at the top of the stairs.
What do you think about at the bottom of the stairs? I know that's a question people ask.
That best practice is not to do it, but in some situations it's the only thing because a child can, you can only put it so, if they put their toes at the edge of the step and they're holding onto it and they lose their grip and fall, they can fall and hit their head, especially if it's on tile. But some areas do not lend itself to a configure gate, which we like to use at the bottom of the stair, where you can actually step totally down onto the floor and then open up the door and go out. If it's too tight, then we have to do it on the stairs. So that one's a little. It's not best practice, but sometimes it's the only thing. But at the top of the stairs, always. There's never a situation you can't put a mounted gate up.
Wow. Well, that's just a little introduction to how great Arizona Childproofers is. And you know what? I talk about it every week. Safety, safety, safety. It takes 2 seconds for an accident to happen. And it's funny because I've been in a lot of homes with babies, and I'm sure you probably tell the parents to crawl on the floor. You don't realize when you're on the floor, if you look up how the cords are hanging or there's a plant Or, I remember one home, they had beautiful plants in wooden planter boxes that had the sharpest corners you've ever seen, and cactuses, fake cactus with needles sticking out. Anyway.
Yeah,
Nancy,
it's hard. And remember that a baby they don't know anything, so everything's a wonder to them. And so their job is to figure things out, to test things out, and their laboratory is their mouth. And
Absolutely.
and they're going to go to it, and so even that little piece of dust on the floor, they're going to go to that because they don't know what it is. They don't know it's dangerous to put in their mouth. They don't know. And so our job, until they get a better understanding of things, is to keep those things out of their way, keep the area safe so they can explore and keep adding to their repertoire of knowledge as they go along. And we just keep adding in a very safe manner how to do that.
Well, that's a great way to end the show. We are up to the end, and I'm going to have to say goodbye. So if you want to contact Nancy, call the 480-634-7366 or go to ArizonaChildproofers.com. And Nancy, thank you so much for being on the show. I will put all your information on my website, and I will see you next month because we're in a terrific networking group that we can talk about sometime called Toddler Infant Networking Group. But I'm going to post that on my website, too. So, Nancy, thanks so much. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you. Always a pleasure, Blythe.
Take care.
Okay, bye-bye.
Have a fun Halloween. Wow, so many wonderful tips. And as I said, Nancy's great. I can't wait for her new project to start, and you can get a free in-home via the Skype or Facebook or whatever once Nancy's new project is up if you live in a different state. Next week, my guest will be mom, attorney, children's author, Ayla Malik. She wrote the most adorable book called The Pocket Mommy. I can remember those days when my son needed me in his pocket. I used to take him to preschool, and he used to cry, and he wanted mommy there. So she'll be my guest next week. And don't forget to follow me on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Pinterest, Baby Instructions, MyBestParentingAdvice.com. Adding favorite tips all the time. I have all kinds of fun things on my websites. And if you need a coaching appointment, just can't figure it out, call me at 480-510-1453. Call my office, schedule an appointment. You can also order my books at Amazon.com, Barnes & Noble, on my websites. They make great baby gifts, shower gifts. Anyway, get in touch. Or if you want to be a guest on the show also, go to mybestparentingadvice.com. And today I want to leave you with these little gems. Your work will wait while you show your child a rainbow, but the rainbow won't wait while you do your work. And finally, Dr. Doug Flanders says, no parent can child-proof the world, but a parent's job is to world-proof the child. Isn't that the truth? Thanks so much for tuning in. Have a great rest of your week, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.